Decided to try something new this time, and I imagine I would be an intimate setting. No set speakers or storytellers, but I just wanted to really just open it up to those that just want to speak on behalf of others. They may not feel like they have the courage or in the right place, or feel that they're not empowered to share their story. Maybe it's also a cause. Maybe it's on behalf of a condition. Um, I really felt in my heart that I needed to give space to that today. Um, and I feel like whoever shows up, that is what was meant to happen.
Yep.
Either those people were meant to be here, or what you are going to say, you in the room, is going to affect someone else in this room. So I truly believe in that. And I truly believe in listening to my inner voices, even though I may fight them so many times because I like to be consistent. And I'm like, no, this is not the way the worthy rallies are done. But you just have to believe. And I'm so glad you guys are here. Since it is going to be most likely an intimate setting, I want us to get to know each other. You don't have to show your camera if you don't want to. I respect that. But let's go around and see who we have in the room. And when you introduce yourself, I don't want you to mention titles or what you do for a living. I want you to introduce your heart. So we're all people first, humans first. I want you to tell me in 3 words how you would describe your heart and your soul. Um, so I will go first. I am Andrea, and deep inside my heart and soul, I would describe it as courageous. Even though I am an introvert, I do consider myself bold in trying new things. And number 3, I'm extremely caring, sometimes to the degree of exhausting myself. But I always in my heart feel that I need to be there for someone, for a cause, for a purpose. I feel like that's why I'm here. So that's my heart in 3 words. Who would like to go next? Melody?
I am Melody, and I'm here for the same reason. I'm using faith because my heart is very open, very connected to my source and to the universe, because synchronicities, when you do that, wow, they're just wow. So today I do have a share that I'm going to do afterwards, for the same reason that you're doing this and the way you're doing this.
That's beautiful. And as we do in all the rallies, go ahead, and if you can resonate, you can do the hearts, you can do the old-fashioned hearts with your hand. But thank you, Melody, for sharing. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. Who would like to go next? Susan, are you speaking? We can't hear you.
You know, I need more than 2 years of practice to unmute myself, apparently. So I'm Susan, and from my heart, I don't know if I can do it in 3 words, but I'll give you 3 ideas. So what really is a big part of me is I'm part of a bigger, I'm one piece of a bigger picture. So the responsibility towards that, the how that drives a lot of my decisions from the heart. Second, I believe I'm inspired by others and inspiring others. That's a big piece of who I am, both ways. And then, and I'm courageous. And all of this, I'll add the fourth, is underlying with trust, is a big piece. And you can't do both ways of bidirectional that I just described in each of those areas without an underlay of trust.
That's beautiful.
That's true.
Thanks for being here, Susan. Let's see, who would like to go next? I promise we won't bite. Cleo.
Hi, I'm Cleo. And that is a great question, asking what 3 words describe me, my heart, and my soul. And lately, there's so many words to describe me, and I don't just mean that lightly. So I'm gonna go with the first one, purposeful. I feel like I'm designed for many purposes. I am kind. I really care about causes that people don't really pay attention to. Even since I was a child, I was always kind to those that nobody really liked. So I gravitated to those that weren't even popular or were considered weird. And then the third one is a hard one. I've been called really brave, I must say, because I'm introverted too, but I'm always researching and really trying to try something new that I haven't done before.
Thank you, Cleo. Let's see, we had some additional people. Welcome, Michelle. We are describing in 3 words what our heart is like to introduce each other. Carol, great to see you again.
Okay, I'm Carol. I guess I would definitely have to be courageous because I did some very unique job positions with all men. But I also have to admit my heart's guarded because I feel that I'm energetically empathic. In other words, I can feel people's emotions when I'm next to them. And it really hurts me because now I'm learning about foster kids and I'm becoming a certified foster parent. And it's literally, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it because it hurts my heart. My heart hurts when I hear about their stories. So thank God the agency has counselors to help even me, the parents, through it, you know. And
Right.
so I'm just seeing where all that goes. But despite that it's guarded, it's full of love, ready to give. So we're just gonna see where all that goes.
It's beautiful, Carol. Thank you for sharing. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Welcome, Russ. We are describing ourselves in 3 words, actually describing our heart and soul in 3 words, so people get to know who we are. Who would like to go after Carol? Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen. So I think that kind of an overarching theme for me would be a caregiver with my kiddos and at work. I'm an advocate for my students and families. And I would also say that I am somewhat of a survivor or strong, with going through a really ugly divorce and just trying to, keep my head up and keep on moving. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks, Karen. You are truly a person I look up to. Means a lot that you're here. Let's see, who else can we? Hearts. Marshall, so good to see you again.
Good to see you. Hey, Cleo. Hey, everybody. So yes, I'm Marshall. I would describe my heart and soul as, let me lower this hand. I would describe my heart and soul as compassionate, giving, and understanding.
Beautiful. Let's see, we haven't heard from Michelle, David, or Russ. Anything you'd like to add?
I can go. Let me see. I would describe my heart definitely as compassionate and tender and wise.
I would agree, Michelle. Beautiful.
I'll go, Andrea.
Russ?
Yeah, I thank you for putting this on, first of all, and gratitude for all you do in the community. I thank you for your post yesterday. I would describe myself as a supportive, resilient, and a caregiver as well.
Strong words. Thank you, Russ.
Yeah.
Welcome, Shannon. We are a more intimate group today, so we are describing our hearts and souls in 3 words, just to get to know each other. George, would you like to say 3 words?
3
about
words.
you? Yeah.
Giving, caring, and just loving.
I would agree, Shannon. Thanks for being here, my friend.
You're welcome.
David, how would you describe your heart and soul?
Um, 3 words. Kindness, caring, empathy.
Wonderful. Thank you all. I really appreciate you sharing those words with me. I always like to take different angles. We all can read who we are on LinkedIn and different social media platforms. But I wanted to hear more about you, your heart, and it means a lot. As I said, today's different. It's the rally number 16. I commit to being here every last Saturday of the month. Even if I am by myself, I will be here because I want to represent and hold space for those that are fighting for a cause, are fighting perhaps for their life, are fighting to just truly be themselves. And if we sit in silence for it, we sit in silence for it. But we do need to recognize that. We get so caught up in our everyday, we all do, that sometimes we forget that all those millions of people out there, each of them have a story. Some are more vocal than others. Some have platforms to share them, but some unfortunately don't, or maybe don't have the courage to do so, or are judged and are scared, or feel alone, like no one would ever understand. So that's what this is all about. I do aspire to find storytellers for the next rally, just like I've always have. But I did want to make this one special and open it up to anyone who maybe they want to talk about their own story, but maybe about someone else that they know, or a cause or a condition, whatever it may be, that needs more attention, that needs just a little bit more light, a little bit more awareness. So that's what we're here. That's why we are here today. I as always, I leave it to my intuition, to whatever I'm feeling in the morning, to let me know how we're going to start. And I had a thought today that I woke up randomly really early, and if you saw my post on LinkedIn, that is just what flowed out of my mind. And then I went back to bed. So I want to do something similar. If you haven't seen my post on LinkedIn, I want to do something similar right here. Let's test out that everyone knows how to do this. Can everyone show me that you know how to do a digital heart like this? Does everyone know how to do that? You go to reactions at the very bottom. It should pull out an emoji and it should have a heart. Everyone know how to do that? Michelle, David, you good? David, you can also, if we don't doing that, then we could do, go ahead and say yes. We can say yes as well. There we go. Great. So I'm going to read something out, and if you can resonate, if this statement is something you can resonate with, I want you to show a heart. Put a heart if you have or know someone who has been bullied in their life. Put a heart if you or you know someone that has been bullied in their life. Okay, look at the number of hearts. Put a heart if you or that person who has been bullied actually told someone that you were being bullied at the moment. A little less, but I'm glad you spoke up. Thank you for speaking up. That's wonderful. Put a heart if you are currently dealing, or you know someone that is currently dealing with a physical, sexual, or emotional abuse background. Put a heart if you or you know someone who has dealt with physical, mental, or emotional abuse. Put a heart if you know someone who, or if you have, you or know you, either you or you know someone that has been looked down upon because of their looks, ethnicity, economic status, gender, or age. Put a heart if you, or if you currently know someone who is running out of strength to live. This is hard. Put a heart if you, or if you know someone who is being currently haunted by their past. Wow. And lastly, from my end, put a heart if you, or if you know someone who is currently happy on the outside, but silently fighting the biggest battle of their life on the inside. So I posted something similar like this in LinkedIn earlier this morning, and the image that popped in my head when I was searching for images immediately was this quote that says, "I see you because in you, I see me." That really resonated with me because I often ask myself, why do I care so much? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I do what I do? Why am I such an advocate for the underdog or people that are perhaps not feeling seen or heard? It's because I see you, because in you I see me, or at least I saw what I used to be. And I would never ever want someone to go through that. And thank you for sharing just now. That was quite powerful, and I was really overwhelmed by the number of people that could resonate, sometimes every single person in here, with all of those remarks. And that shows right there, it shows right there that we're all going through something. And if it's not us, we all know someone going through something. And we need to end the stigma. We need to raise awareness. We can't pretend the world is okay, that we're happy, that all those strangers out there in the grocery store, as an example, are okay. They may be smiling, they may be going about their day, they may be posting things on Facebook that look, oh, I wish they have it all together, I wish I was like them. But I mean, proof right now, it's look at all that. So don't ever underestimate. So that's what we're here for, to honor that space, to be real. I want to open it up to any comments based on what we just did. Carol.
Well, like I said, I'm taking these classes on becoming a foster parent, and I'm learning about trauma. And then all of a sudden, my awareness woke up to all this trauma that everybody's under. And, you know, Bruce Lipton is talking about the biology of trauma. There's a seminar going on now, the wisdom of trauma in your body. And now that I'm getting so knowledgeable about it, I see it's a walking around. Everyone's walking around with trauma. So it's part of the human condition, number one. And under the certain circumstances, apparently they can be healed. You can heal. I know you can take them to your 60. I'm proving that right now. You know, I'm taking some of my traumas to my senior citizen years, but where I'm learning how these kids, how we're going to be transforming them, helping them through their trauma is that it can be healed under the right circumstances. And so we're learning that, and Bruce Lipton is learning that, and he's teaching us all, and it's everywhere. So I think the awareness that in the human condition, there is emotional trauma that is, I think it's coming mainstream, Andrea, and you're going to be able to see it. They've already proven 80% of diseases are caused from chronic diseases are caused from trauma. So, I mean, it's so close. It's so close to be busted wide open, and maybe kids will be learning meditation in school.
Wow. Thanks for sharing, Carol. Susan?
Yeah, so in the spirit of what we were just talking about, I had a really interesting learning during COVID, or an eye-opener, aha. I think it was when Michelle Obama came out during COVID and said, I'm functionally depressed, that a lot of us, or a lot of people around said, yeah, you know, we all are. We lost a lot in that first 6 to 8 to 12 months that kept going. We lost our lifestyle, we lost friends, we lost our jobs dramatically changed. There was a lot of loss and grieving. And for the first time in my life, I literally started reaching out to people and saying, you know, I'm not doing well. I'm really fairly, you know, I look like I am on the outside, and I'm happy, and I'm doing my job. And yeah, I've got like this big job, and I've got great friends, and I've got like this really nice life. But on the inside, I was really hurting. And no matter how many people I told, it just was a moment, a fleeting moment, and life kept going. And nobody knew how to, either they didn't know how to respond, they didn't know how to help me, they didn't know how to, and it made me realize how many people are not even functionally depressed, but depressed. And nobody knows what to do with that when we talk about mental health and mental wellness. And and I literally felt it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not, like, at least call me and check in or something. And there was just nothing there. And I've got amazing friends and an amazing network. But I just was shocked and surprised at how little response I got that would help me, or that was more than a moment of, oh my God, that's awful. So what are you having for dinner? You know, I'm like, wait a second, this isn't about dinner. So that was just a real big about how we as a society hold each other up and lift each other up and help us. I don't know if we even know how.
That's an excellent point, Susan, and I can relate to what you were saying. I have found that, I don't know, I'm interested to hear other opinions, but I have found that a lot of it is because people feel awkward and don't know how to respond. So they don't know what to say. And sometimes people have admitted to me, I'm like, yeah, I understand how you're feeling, but I just don't know what to say to make you feel better. So that there's that going on too. And again, it goes back to awareness. Let's see, I know we had David's hand first. David?
I mean, it's a great conversation. I mean, coming on from the previous point, you know, around the mental health conversation. You know, when we first opened up, I was talking about, you know, kindness, caring, and empathy were my three. And I think you know, the pandemic is one thing, but I think way before that, we weren't having a conversation around what is going on, how we're feeling, you know, because it's lip service. You know, it's what we do. We go into our organizations and we say, "Hey, Steve, how are you this morning?" And your response is that Steve is just going to go, "I had a great weekend," or "This happened." You're not expecting Steve to say, "I'm really depressed and I really feel like I can't continue." And that's the conversation that is awkward for people. We make lip service. We, you know, we look at mental health and we look at these things as stigmas. You know, I could go there. I could probably speak for the next 2 hours on that. I'm not going to. But we really need to be in a connected conversation with people. It's something that I've tried to do recently because if I'm really honest, I think 98% of conversations are just bullshit. um, and we just kind of make lip service for the sake of making lip service. We don't genuinely connect with people and see how we genuinely are, and that's a conversation we need to start. You know, if somebody is genuinely not okay, it's okay to not have the answers. Um, you know, it's okay to just kind of just be there and listen and not have it all solved. You know, I think a lot of people, two analogies I'd like to use is, you know, there are a lot of people when you talk to them, it's like they have three mouths and no ears, um, sometimes, and also a lot of people when you talk to them, you know, go into should police mode, which is you should do this, you should do this, this is what you should do because this is how I think it should be. But there isn't one size that fits all. So, you know, you can be there, but you just need to just be there and not impart your story on somebody. The only story that really makes sense or that's important is a story you tell yourself.
That is such a great point. Thank you, David. I don't know about anyone else, but I kind of dread Monday morning conversations when I log back into work. Like, how was your weekend? And you have to pretend, oh, great, I did this. But you don't want to, absolutely true. You don't want to say, I was in my room depressed because this is happening, or I'm dealing with this and this in my life. And people don't want to hear that. So you feel forced to make something like a really focus on a moment that um, was perhaps seen positive to the rest of the world, which if you're a genuine person, that's hard. That is really hard. Cleo?
I wanted to comment about this book I've been reading called The Body Keeps the Score, and it's about trauma-informed care.
Oh.
And it is a really good book about how people with families deal with painful situations, trauma, and how biologically, to piggyback off of Susan, how trauma can create these biological warfares in us as a people, as a humanity. And I even put this on Facebook months ago that we're not only in a pandemic, we're in a pandemic with trauma. And I think if people actually start paying attention to that, then maybe we'd get somewhere. And I do dread these low level conversations of how was your day and OMG, that sounds great. I'm doing good. Like, I think it's fake, and I'm not a fake person. Like, I genuinely care when someone is having a problem, and I'm genuinely there to listen. And that's part of our movement, and your movement, Andre, is us spreading kindness. But how can we spread kindness if people are constantly being fake and having fake conversations?
Bravo, Cleo. Agree. Melody?
I agree with that. We need to be able to stop the stigma of if somebody's depressed, they can't talk about it because, oh no, you don't want to talk about it. We need to be able to be honest and open with each other because we're all in this together. There are people we relate to that we don't realize we relate to. So yeah, I hear you on that.
How?
And let me know when you want me to.
Yes,
I'll
I
leave my
would.
hand up.
Definitely.
Okay.
Um, I want to ask a follow-up question based on all those responses. So if you yourself have been depressed or are dealing with a condition, and or you know someone that's the same way, what's the best thing someone can say to you if you're trying to be honest and telling them you're not having a good day or you're depressed? What are you looking to receive back from that person? Michelle?
Yeah, I can answer that one. Having been through quite a bit myself, I would say the things that I found the most helpful were, I had one, I think it was after my second child died. One of my friends, you know, I got all kinds of advice about how I should feel about it, and that didn't really work for me. But what worked was the people who just said, you know, I'm here for you. And I had one friend who said, I don't even know what to say right now, but I'm here for you. And I felt like that was the best thing rather than, oh, you know, don't worry, you'll have more. Oh, don't worry, the day's going to look better tomorrow. Or don't, like, people just trying to kind of either bypass it or tell you why you shouldn't feel that way. I think just, one of the phrases I saw online was that I use quite often is sitting with you in this, or sending a hug, or because I don't think it's effective if people try to act like we can fix it. I think what happens is when people disclose their upset or discomfort, other people don't want to. I'm on the. Can you? Sorry. Other people don't want to. Other people don't want to deal with that, or it makes them uncomfortable. So they just want you to they just want that to go away. So they just want to fix you. And most of us don't want to be fixed. We just need to be heard. We need someone to sit with us. Not even necessarily to say, I understand, because some things that you just can't understand. Just simple presence, taking them a meal, not trying to, not trying to get them out of that if they're really having a rough day. Just sometimes it's just, yeah, that was really horrible. And I'm here for you. And I think in terms of, yeah, we all do want to be for one another, but I think that we do have to be careful in terms of to whom we disclose. I think that we have to find safe communities, because I think if you disclose to the wrong people, sometimes it gets thrown in your face, or people don't understand, or they mock it. So that's one of the things I've had to work on, is finding safe communities in which to share and to be judicious about with whom I share things. Okay. So.
Thanks for sharing, Michelle. And I'm sorry to hear all of that. I did not know that about you. And great words of advice. And sometimes you don't have to say anything. Sometimes you just, if you can, hug the person, or just say, I'm listening, I understand. I hear you, I see you. That's what's worked for me. I know there's some hands raised, but any direct feedback, feel free to unmute yourself for what Michelle just said, or how to react to someone that's feeling depressed or being vulnerable to you.
I think Carol said this in a chat, and I agree completely. And I do this all the time, and it really has resonated when people ask me. It's not only I understand, I hear you, I see you, but is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything you need right now that I can help you with? And not everybody can articulate it, but for those that can, I know I've always just felt like when somebody asks me that, I'm like, oh my God, you really mean it. You really mean that you care. Like, it's not even that you're just saying, yeah, oh God, that's horrible, and moving on, but you actually are willing to kind of have a piece of what's going on by helping me. And that's pretty powerful. And I will just say, when my dad died, and we were at the funeral, the one thing that meant the most out of everybody's condolences and everybody's like, you know, and there were a lot of people there, is when my girlfriend hugged me and said in my ear at the funeral, at the cemetery, "This really sucks, doesn't it?" That was all she said. And I just burst into tears. I'm like, you know what? All this, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. But those words at that moment meant everything, because it did. There was no other way to describe it. It just sucked. So it was really an interesting
Like she,
interaction.
like she gave you a chance to have your real feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Like there was nothing, and no other way to describe it, you know, in reality. Yeah, exactly, Carol.
the minister training says that one of their phrases is, "How can I support you? I'm here for you. What do you need? How can I support you? What do you need?" Yeah. And if they don't know what they need, then maybe that's your job, is to help them figure out what they need right now. What is it you need? Do you need a hug? I was also taught, if your stress is up here, then to get into your body. So go do some movement. And if your stress is in your body from illnesses, then go meditate and do something in your head. So you can take them out, or shift them into a different, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, vibration or whatever.
I love what you just said. Give people a chance to hear your real feelings. I love that. Shannon, did you raise your hand?
Yes, I can go back to your first question where you said like you were bullied and no one did anything. As a child, there were two blonde girls that would bully me. I mean, like as far as Grease, I could never be Candy or whatever the star was because I had brown hair, you know, and they would do little tricks like hide and go seek and go inside. And when I would share that with my family, my mom went and addressed it to the mothers, and their response was, "Well, so and so, she was bullied too by older girls, so you know, there's really nothing you can do about that." And nowadays, if I was a teacher and a child came up to me and said that, I would, you know, address that directly. Um, and so that was one segment of my life, being bullied throughout school. And before that, I was um, abused at an actual school. But it's the triggers that are the hardest. For instance, like on the radio, I heard a story about a young child that wouldn't wear, like, forgot to put his mask on, and the substitute who was fired taped it to his face, like all the way up and like completely around. And I have a memory from the abusive school where I was in kindergarten. I had my list of spelling words I was still studying, and um, they had already tried taping my mouth or talking, I guess. And they had also like told me, "Well, you're not going to go on the field trip, even if we're just going to leave you here. And if the school comes falling down on you, that's just your punishment." And that's not the worst that happened at the school, but it closed down, and we never heard anything about it until later, as I was getting different therapies. And I will say, like, today's a whole new world as far as therapies and beneficial ways to deal with this. But I do have some sort of attraction where people come and tell me their stories, and I don't respond because I'm not going to give them my story in reflection because it's just too much. And I'll just sit there and listen to their stories. I've also been told by therapists that as a child, and even still today, I'm still working on boundaries because I think, oh, everyone's a good person. And, you know, turn the other cheek when they say something. You know, that was one thing. Like as a child, abusers can sense when you're easygoing and carefree and you'll go to anyone. And I've also had therapists tell me that it's my family's fault, like they should have recognized this. So, I mean, it's a whole cycle of things that go on. And when it gets really bad, I can't talk about it at all. Like, I'm not in a good zone. Like, when nothing I say makes any sense. And so you have to be careful. And I've tried various forms of meditation, but that's not safe for me because like that stuff that they would also use on me, different music from that time period sets me off. I've had like where the Eastern meditation, the gongs, and just there's a certain type of music that will set me off, and I've had convulsions, I've had seizures, I've had nights where I mean I've severe insomnia. So yeah, I think it's important when you've been traumatized, you recognize that you have a void, and there's no words that can really fill that void. And I would be careful about saying meditation is a key because if you've been abused and you dissociate or you have other like PTSD triggers, it can take you back to that time in an unsafe way. So there, the meditation needs to be more like a healing, and it needs to be done by like professionals that know your resistance and what really works for you. Because I know there's a lot of schools in California, like I would not do classroom meditation because you don't know which child, how it affects every single child if you're not doing it individually. Um, like where you can really catch their signals, I guess is what I'm saying. But kind of got off. I try to bring a bunch of things in, but um, I because I blocked everything and as a child until high school, and no one would have ever guessed the things that I recalled. So and everyone's brain's different. Everyone heals differently, and you just hope that you find a therapist. I'm, in my 40s, and I can tell you, I have not found I mean, I think my very first therapist was she believed everything, and then she moved to Austin. So like, I haven't had a consistent therapist that I could really work with. Thanks, Karen. I've had some really bad therapists that are almost like, I would put more on the side of like witchcraft than actual healing. One time I like got out of the hospital, and this lady gave me a tape to hypnotize myself and do the work myself. And my doctor, when I would find these therapists, it was almost like we were a team, and he would go after them and get them out of their profession. But I mean, he's been with me for like 30 years, and he hasn't been, I mean, he's kept me functional, but I still have my ups and downs. And something that someone said that really helped me the most, it was one of the safe house, it's a trafficking group, is that trauma is not linear. It has peaks and valleys, and you're going to have your ups and downs your whole life. So that, it's not like you just, snap and it's all going to be taken care of. Like the best you can do is find a good place for yourself. But yeah, that's about it in a nutshell.
Shannon, you are an inspiration. I've known Shannon for years. We went to college together. I never, ever, ever knew that about her until the most recent years. You would never have guessed. She's an example of someone that's just always giving, always extremely happy. But you would have never have guessed what she's been through. And Shannon, your strength your strength to go through all of that. And I'm so proud of you and your efforts to help others and advocate for all the things that you're doing. I mean, you're
My first psychologist, he came to see me, like the first hospital. Back then, parents would put their children that like partied too much in the hospital when they would want to go on a break, like have a vacation. So like none of us really needed to be there, but they knew they just didn't understand why I was there. And I was in my room crying. My psychologist, I remember Dr. Raphael came in and he said to me, you're crying with a smile. You still have that smile. It was almost like that was my defense mechanism. And he said, one day you're going to cry without having to smile. And that's always stuck with me.
wow,
Yeah. So
that's powerful. Thank you so much, Shannon, for sharing. I'm really grateful for you. I know a couple of people have had their hands raised, and it may have been for other topics, but I'm going to open it up soon to talking about your own causes and what you're passionate about. But are there any other comments on what we've heard lately on the current discussion?
I'd just like to say something real quick. Um, Great story, Shannon, and appreciate you sharing that. And I really commend you on your strength. I learned a lot, and there was a lot of takeaways out of what you said. Um, Even with like when you described the peaks, right, and the ups and downs. Immediately, what I got out of that is almost like how they say life is like a roller coaster, and no matter if you're at the peak or the low, you through it all you learn how to hold on, because if you just let go, then what's the point? And so that was a big takeaway for me. And in you sharing what you shared about your experiences and everything that happened, and knowing your triggers. There's a friend of mine who I'm helping out. He's been almost like a lifelong friend. He's about 3 or 4 years younger than I am, and he's more like a little brother. And he's had alcohol problems and domestic violence issues and things like that. And he lives in another state. Um, and so when you were describing everything about the triggers and things like that, I learned more about myself when people share those type of things. And I think that is, very uh, great about you knowing yourself. Like, your limitations, what triggers you, because then I think you find the strength in how to deal with those situations the more you know yourself. Because a lot of times when we want people to talk to us in conversations, and as we described earlier in the conversation about when someone asks how was your weekend, and if we really got the real answer, um, we really learn more about how we would respond to their real answer more than what we would learn about their circumstance or their situation. And that's just one thing I think that was really profound, especially, with what's going on with the pandemic and everything. It's easy to look outward to the world and see what's happening, but more so, I think in this all that we should learn more about ourselves and how we feel, how we respond, how we perceive information, and uh, how quickly are we to dismiss people, or rather than seeking to understand where they're coming from and those experiences that influences their decision. So I just wanted to commend you on that, and there was so much that I took away from that.
thank you. And I want to say, like your roller coaster metaphor, mine, I actually do poems and paintings. Mine's a heartbeat. So like even throughout history, if you think of the peaks, everybody's working together. But even in it's the valleys where people have to come together to bring you back up. And you never want to flatline because it's a heartbeat and that's life. But
I like that.
Thanks.
Wow, that's really cool, Shannon. I like that too. And thanks, Marshall, for sharing as well. Melody, did you have a comment?
Yeah, Shannon, one of those words that describes your heart, strength is definitely one of them. You keep going, girl. You got this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Karen?
Listening to all these stories, I think someone had mentioned how trauma is going to be more mainstream and out there, and you know, this is a group that's gathered here that are full of compassionate, caring people, and you know, knowing about the ACEs study and how that trauma and the body keeps the score is just so huge. And I think what's tough with being empathetic to people is recognizing that each person has an individual need for what's in that moment. And there really isn't one size fits all. And, you know, as Shannon said, you know, sometimes not sharing her story with people and knowing where you're safe to share your story. And I think that, you know, as Marshall had mentioned, I actually grew a lot closer to the people when I started to open up about some of the things that I was going through that were so rough. And it was those people who have lived it and survived it and showed that there is a light at the end, and were able to share their story with me, that I grew so much from that, and just knowing that I wasn't alone. And I think that your rally every month, being able to share stories is so helpful, because you hear that, okay, you know, I'm not alone here, and other people have lived this and have survived it and have grown from it.
Thanks, Karen. Karen, I've known Karen since college as well, and I'm going through a really rough time right now, and Karen has been there for me, so thank you so much, Karen, and for your words.
We're here for you, Andrea. We're all
Sorry?
here. We're here for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
We
Thank
love you.
Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Oh, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Love you guys too. Melody, did you have another comment, or are you ready to tell us what you're going to be doing?
When you're ready.
Let's go, Melody.
Okay. You wanted us to be able to speak for others. There are people who can't speak. And I had a mentor who taught the question to focus on that I do focus on. And it's, what are you going to do with your ability to speak up? And I put that on my whiteboard to look at on a regular basis. So that's what I'm doing today, because you said, you know, for the people who can't speak up for themselves. So that's who this is for. Observe, absorb, and find the light in it. Because even the dark parts, there's a light in it somewhere. When I was a child, my mother sent me to my uncle's farm with my father, and I'm highly allergic to farm animals. So there was one morning where I was sitting up in bed, gasping for air, and I was the strength of being able to live through that week. But I was sitting there on the bed, and it was the crack of dawn, and the sun came up, and the mist on that field. I'm not a morning person. Had my asthma not been that bad, I would have slept through something that has stayed with me all these years, is seeing that mist and the sunlight on that field was so magical. So even when you're going through something, find something that shows you the light and hang on to that. Because right now, I can't resonate with how I felt about not being able to breathe. And I know it was bad because I was awake feeling it, but I don't resonate with that. I resonate with how I felt seeing that sunlight on the mist. It was so beautiful. My soul took it in. So instead of being scarred by that moment, I took the light. So observe, absorb, and find the light, because there's always somewhere in it. You are where you are meant to be, and in the moment, in your presence, you are enough. So anyone who's not willing to talk, being here today is meant to be. You are here to hear the messages of your higher power that want you to know you matter. And you don't have to speak. You are enough right now because you're here listening to those who are willing to speak for you. And that's what this is. And I've had experiences that have brought me from when the pandemic started, because I have PTSD and anxiety. I was like this. Fear and trauma had been so prevalent in my life with a pancake pile of traumas that I really was in myself in that fear. And I was on Facebook scrolling through, and I saw a thing from Rachel Jane Groover that was about awaken your purpose and passion. And it was a webinar. It was a free webinar. So I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And I was about to scroll past it. And it was like, I can't leave the house. I don't have an excuse not to watch it. So I watched it, and it did. It awakened my passion and my purpose, which is my message is to show everybody you matter. It doesn't matter what you're doing right now. You matter. And if you're not willing to share yet, if you're not ready to share yet, it's because you're taking in. You're taking in because all our experiences in life have messages in them. So if you're open to that, and if your focus changes to being, what are the messages? You start seeing them. So I started finding out about Reiki. It's energy healing and crystals and chakra learning and colors. Kate, who has been on here on these rallies before, I met her through it. She does color Zooms. And I'm going to give you an example how the universe, because I look at it as what's it trying to teach me. There was one day where I needed to get some secretarial work done that day. And I should have done it yesterday, but I hadn't. And Kate had sent me, I know you get the newsletter, but you haven't gotten them lately. Can you check your spam messages? And I was like, sure, I can do that. And I opened it up, wasn't in the spams. It was in my promotionals because I have one that headlines that. And there it was. And the color was red. Well, I associate red with the chakra, root chakra. So, but that day was heart. So I was like, okay. I was meant to see that because now my clock on my phone said 11:11. And that is my number that if I see it, it means pay attention. Something is telling you something. So I was okay. It was red. It was root chakra. Get back to work. So I went back to the secretarial work I was doing, had trouble with that, said, nope, universe, help me with this. It did. And then my granddaughter says to me, Grams, can you take the kids off the bus? Well, I was writing a creative article at that point. So I got frustrated. I got aggravated with the fact that she wanted me to do that. But I did it anyway. And it was raining out. So I had to come back, grab my umbrella. And I'm out there at the bus stop, and there's a puddle on the curb, by the curb. And I'm watching the raindrops hit it. And they're creating circles, and the patterns were circles. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing because of the way it was doing it. It was beautiful. And I looked up, and all the greenery was extra green because it was wet. And I was like, you haven't done your Reiki today, and you need to root. If this isn't Mother Nature giving you that root, what is? And it just filled me with so much. The connection to nature was the root chakra, was that message I needed to see. And it elevated me that something that I didn't want to do was something I needed to do. So if we look for those messages, they're there. And lately I've been into the connecting the traumas with your DNA, because we know that health ones go down through your DNA. But what if trauma does too? So I started exploring that because I've changed a couple of different patterns I found I had lately. And then one, when I was looking at that, the genetic type of thing, I was like, okay, what about allergies? I'm highly allergic to horses, highly allergic to them. What if that came from a trauma? What if that DNA of that allergy came from a trauma in my ancestry? Like, because I love horses, but I'm highly allergic to them. So as a child, I dreamed of riding, galloping down the road on a horse. So I'm thinking, what does that mean to me? So I was thinking, okay, maybe one of my ancestors fell off a horse and got hurt, or watched somebody die from something involving horses. And my body took that into the DNA, and the trauma creates inflammation because your cells are freaking out. That's what an allergy is. They're a freak out. The very next day, within 12 hours after writing that down and seeing that concept, somebody that I was connected with on Messenger to share some motivational stuff for her months ago sent me one of a motivational one that says, if you fail, keep going. And it was all about horses and how people riding horses fell off the horse falling. I could not help but cry, because that was like, oh my God, that came out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. She didn't know I was allergic to horses. She didn't know anything except I had sent her motivational stuff months ago. Sorry about that. And it just was so, I'm following all these signs, all these synchronicities that the universe is giving me. And I don't have time to feel the PTSD at this point, because I am healing through watching those synchronicities. So my best words to you, if you are not comfortable sharing, if you haven't found your strength yet, out of the darkness, observe, absorb, and find the light in it. And I love you all matter. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my goodness, Melody. You need to create your own show. Seriously, that was
Thank you.
very impactful. Any comments for Melody?
I really like what you said about the three things of observe, absorb, and finding a light. And I think a lot of times it goes back to looking within. Um, sometimes that light, like we have, like you say, we are enough, right? And sometimes it just takes a moment to slow down and look within and realize that you do have enough and you are the light. A lot of times the light is within you, because all along you're gonna light that way, and you end up lighting it for somebody else, because what you go through is not always only for you, but for the person coming behind you or in front of you that you may meet on a path in life that may need to know that same experience, and you can share that strength. I really like that, Melody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marshall. Susan?
Yeah, the other piece that I love and resonated with me, so thank you for the story, it was really impactful, is I have found in my life that the more you focus on and look for the synchronicities, and look for the messages, and actually even the more in gratitude you are for getting them, the more that come your way. I mean, it seems to grow exponentially. It's like what you get, what you focus on. And if you start focusing on that, you start becoming more and more and more aware of how incredible this whole system of life is, and really what is coming your way that you're not paying attention to if you're not focused on it. So thank you for that great reminder.
Thank you,
I,
Susan.
I just want to say thank you for the story, Melody. And I actually lost my little sister to a horseback riding accident. So, being um, around horses my entire life up until I got divorced. uh, uh, there's so many lessons to be learned about what you said, and one of the reasons I wanted to be here today is because um, I was just drawn to be here. And I'm sure that some of the lessons that we're sharing today and in your story, which resonates with me as well, is one that we all need to hear. And I just want to make sure that uh, you know that we appreciate you and what you're bringing to the table, along with everyone here. And there's a lot of things that are going on in all our lives, and I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people, and it has to do with burnout and fatigue and trauma and all of these things, and listening and paying attention and all the things that we're talking about today. It's absolutely critical to acknowledge and make sure that we support each other in the ability to hear others and the opportunity to help someone do something other than what they may be thinking about doing. And yesterday was International Suicide Day or something like that, and as a parent who's lost a child to suicide, it's really important for us to all recognize that a moment of clarity, concern, and just opening up and listening and being available can make the difference between success and suicide. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ, as well, for sharing. You are meant to be here. We are all meant to be here today for a reason. And I've already heard lots of words that made me believe why I needed to be here and do this different format today. So I appreciate all of you. I want to open it up, lots of great nuggets, but does anyone else want to speak for or raise more awareness of a specific cause for anyone else, or speak for a person? I open the floor up. Shannon?
Yeah, I have to go soon, but I was just going to say that when I'm at my lowest points and I reflect back, I mean, my family could have lost me so many times. I count about 9 times that I went off. And I'm a big advocate for children, but mostly trafficking, because I realized I could have been kidnapped or worse. And there's got to be a reason I survived all those times, even though it's really hard to come back from those episodes. So I really resonate with the children's stories, and or any age, but I mean, really and truly, a friend said, you must have the whole army of angels when you go off the deep end to protect you, because it doesn't seem humanly possible that I survived. So I mean, anything dealing with children and abuse, but trafficking really touches my heart, because I know what I've been through and what I've survived. Most people couldn't. And I've met people along the way that their experiences, and actually living in families that do that sort of thing, their minds split, and it's really hard for them. Like um, I don't know how to describe like how my mind works. No one really knows, but um, the mind's an amazing thing and the way it heals. But sometimes it's really hard for a young child to take, or they are given special tools to heal better, and of course dealing with having the right professional help is always beneficial. So I'd say I'm a big component of NAME and people that are making mental awareness something, giving it a name. I always thought, gosh, I've been in the closet for most of my life. Most people don't go around with all their labels on the outside, and so, yeah, it's not something that people, I think, feel it's not something that, we don't need to live with our labels on the outside. We should all be seen as individuals, but MI is something that a lot of people stay back. They push you away, or you feel left out, or it's a tough situation. So I feel like that's the final thing that people need to be able to come out and express. And I don't think we're quite there. We're close, but there's, a lot more empathy. But there's still a lot of people that will shy away from you. And even there's still the fear of people with mental illness, because it's so hard to understand, and every individual case is different. And so you can't just make assumptions when someone says, oh, I had this label or that label, because it means something different for every person. And it doesn't explain the whole background knowledge that comes with that. So I guess I'm going to have to go soon, but I'll just leave it like those are the different groups that I support. So
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for everything you've shared today. It's really impacted me. And
Thank you,
very,
Shannon.
thank you. All righty. Well, I'll have to go now. So you're talking
Okay,
to.
ma'am.
Bye.
Andrea,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I don't know how, or I don't know exactly the path, but I'm really, as a caregiver and somebody that, has been supportive of, family and everything else. I'm going down this, suicide is, it's been a thread throughout my life. Um, and I feel like I have to give a voice to somebody that, or be available or do something. So I just, um, I haven't decided, I haven't defined what that looks like yet, but I just wanted to make sure that, if anybody has any ideas, they can reach out and because I want to give a voice to somebody. And, I highlight a lot of people every day, throughout the year, but, I'm going through a phase of discovery. So just open that space up for that to happen and evolve at some point in time.
Wow. It just, I don't know if any of you follow Russ, but Russ, you already have such a platform, an incredible platform. Tell everyone a little bit about that, and why did you start that? What's your passion behind that?
Well, it's along the same lines. I promote kindness is cool and smiles are free. And it's a direct result of losing people in my life and knowing that they're in a moment's notice, just like Shannon said, there's a reason why I'm here, because there have been so many times that I shouldn't be here. And, one conversation can make the difference, and one just caring and being available to somebody can make a difference. So you don't know who needs it, you don't know when they need it, and you don't know how you can deliver it. And if you're kind and you're considerate and you have a little bit of empathy and compassion, that may be that may make the difference in someone's life that you don't even know. So, I promote that every day, and I want to make sure that I highlight people that are doing positive things in the world, so others can see that, that's something that is possible. That's something that is available to you. And so the Pirate Broadcast is continuing to, promote that idea. And I've computed well over 500 episodes of that, and highlighting different people along their journey and what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they got there, to set examples that, have some hope, have an opportunity, believe that you can do it.
How long have you been doing it, Russ?
At least a couple of years. And before that, I was doing 2-minute tips and, sharing out, encouraging words. And, it's just been my passion my whole life is, I was bullied as a kid. I probably was in a fight every week from 5th grade to high school, and, standing up for the underdog, getting beat up. And the reality is that we all have a reason to be here. And sometimes it takes a little while for us to discover why. And my why is to make sure that everybody has a voice that provides hope for others.
I can so resonate with that. Does anyone have any input for what Ross was asking? Like, he really wants to continue to share his voice, specifically around suicide, which is a topic that means a lot to him. Melody?
Russ, I have a connection for you. Greg Bicknell, he runs a camaraderie rescue, and it is based on trying to keep vets from suicide. And he also is trained in TRP, I think that's what it is. But I definitely think the two of you are a connection that's waiting to happen. So I will DM you in LinkedIn so that you can talk to each other. I don't know what it is you two will do together, but I just feel that the universe is saying that's a connection that needs to be made. Thanks.
Thanks, Melody. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Melody. Something that you just said, Ross, I ask myself all the time. I feel such a passion to give others a voice, but I don't know what exactly it is I'm supposed to do. So all I do is just show up.
Yeah.
And maybe that's good enough. Maybe that's good enough right now. Maybe that's good enough forever. Maybe the more people that show up will ignite others to do so, and so forth and so forth.
Well, it goes back to the conversation earlier that we were having, is sometimes just being there and saying, this really sucks.
Yeah.
Allows people,
Right.
because I've talked to so many entrepreneurs that are, burn out, they're exhausted, and you hate to put everything out there because of the, not everybody wants to work with somebody that's not winning, right? So we had this cycle of, hustle and grind, and sometimes it's counterproductive. And so it's just, I don't want to see it go to the end, which I've lost friends for that exact reason.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Andrea,
Yes.
as for you, you're not sure what you're doing. I see you as being like Peter, because you both do a show that is not focused on you, focused on those that speak to share their messages. So you and Peter Clark do the same thing. So that's probably your purpose.
That's a huge compliment because Peter Clark is amazing. If you guys don't follow Peter Clark,
Yes, he is.
he's awesome. Susan.
So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about, so throughout life, throughout my life, I get really crazy about injustice and lack of equity and fairness between people, between religions, between races, and where it's honed in, being Jewish, really kind of working in ending anti-Semitism and doing all that. But I think where I ended up over the past, I don't know, 10 years, really focusing is on really fighting for the disenfranchised and the disadvantaged, and really fighting for the rights of women, family, and children. And that's kind of where, in that, where I love the fact that there are people doing the one-on-ones, which I honestly have not had time to do. I ended up choosing to go on the board of National Council of Jewish Women, which is on the national board, which is really built to, it's 125 years old, built to work on these issues from a systemic point of view. So we were behind the Equal Pay for Women's Act, the Family Leave Act. We were behind Sesame Street. So it's although it's there's a faith inspiration, it's really about what's going on with all of us. And we've been so busy lately with the voting rights and the women having choice over their own bodies, and everything going on right now with helping people out during the pandemic, and having a voice at the White House and having the voice in the legislation that's going on, that it's been incredibly fulfilling and inspiring and hard work to try to impact as many people as we can across the country. From again, it's systemic, and then the local organizations on the ground in different cities are doing more of the hands-on work, which hopefully I'll have time to do at some point. But again, I think big, like that's kind of where my head is often, is how do you start in impact from that end. So so I would say, if you believe in anything, I would even put a pitch out there. It's not for money, it's not for any of that. But if you want to add your voice to our causes and sign up on our website, when we go to Congress, when we talk to legislators, when we talk to anybody making laws right now that protect women, family, and children, or support them, we'd love to say we have 1 million, people. It does not have to be women, obviously, but we have 1 million people that we represent. The bigger the number, the more powerful our voice as we work on the Hill. So anyway, that's I'll throw that out there. It's been like a big part of my life over the last probably 6 years.
Wow, I applaud you, Susan. That's amazing. Please share any information in the chat, a link, and how
Yep.
we can find out more. You ask a great question, Susan, and I'm wondering what everyone else thinks. How do you start an impact? How do you start a movement? How do you make an impact? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll tell you that for me, I am in awe of people that do this. So I find movements that are already started and I join, but when I look at, there's a sisterhood of the Sisterhood of the Salam Shalom. These are Jewish and Muslim women. And when I hear the story, you talk about stories, that this Muslim and Jewish women, these two women in I think Jersey or something, woke up one day and said, let's start a movement, because you can't hate people that you actually are friends with, that you actually know, that you get to put time and see where your similarities are. So let's start this group, this movement of Jewish and Muslim women coming together. And there are like over 100 or 125 groups now across the country. And I belong to one. In fact, I'm getting together with them tomorrow night in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I think, what does it take to like wake up one day and say, this is a great idea, and then form this movement that has thousands of women in it, all becoming friends and girlfriends, frankly. And you don't hate your girlfriend. I mean, you hate people you don't know. and you know, or that you're afraid of, or that are different. So how do you overcome that and create the space for people to really get to know each other? I don't, honestly, Andre, I don't know how you do it. I'm not one that does that. I find those groups that people have started and had the strength and the passion and the inspiration and the willingness and the time and commitment to put it together. It's pretty cool.
I think you are doing it, Susan.
Mhm. I don't know. I
From my
push stuff.
perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah, we sometimes get so intimidated with words and word movement, making an impact, and we don't realize that we are actually doing those things in the eyes of others, myself included. I'm like, what? I did what? No. So, yeah, I mean, based on what you described, my goodness, you are.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing. Any other comments for Susan?
I think it's a great cause and it's well needed. And I have a friend in New York that has a show that he works with a lot of nonprofits, and I'd be happy to introduce you if you ever think that you might want to expand that message out.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks, Russ. Anyone else want to speak up on behalf of a cause, a condition, a person, or raise awareness of any specific topic right now that perhaps is underrepresented or not giving enough light? Let me ask the question differently. So, say you are giving a platform. This is your platform. You may already have one, but this is your platform, your chance to address the whole world as your audience on one important thing that they need to know. What would that be? Carol.
I wanted to answer because it answers Susan that I've taken a whole year-long course on how to become an impactful transformational leader by Claire Zammit of Feminine Power. So, you know, I had a class that taught us how to put these platforms together, just like Andrea asked. And so I went through the whole year thinking mine was 13-year-old. Who's that? Whose dog is that? And to help them to empower 13-year-old girls to go into STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and math. And that's who I thought oh yeah. And then my message would be, get a job before making babies, you know, get a career before making babies. You know, that was going to be my biggest take on it, and, you know, try to get them to realize that most women are single parents, and the reason they're single parents is because the husband's probably, or the father's probably not a big part of it, and so they're gonna have to make money. So that was what I thought my platform was. I found at the end of the transformational leadership class that I'm really here to impact men and not women, but I'm here to impact men to change their view on what women are capable of doing. And Andrea knows what I do, so that kind of, I'm talking the walk and walking the talk. I mean, I'm teaching 40-year-old men electronics right now. So, you know, I'm doing it, but that's, if I had a platform, I could probably talk to the 13-year-old girls too. There it is.
Carol, you're awesome.
Oh,
For those that missed when you were a speaker in the Worthy, tell them a little bit about your background.
okay. I went right out of high school into the Merchant Marines, where I learned to navigate ocean-going cargo ships in the 3rd year of women ever to graduate from the Maritime Academy.
Wow.
And so the first 10 years, you know, I was definitely the pioneer on the container ship, on the tanker ship, on the car carrier, grain carriers, and, you know, got beat up. I used to say I got chewed up in breakfast and spit out at lunch. And I had nowhere to go, so I had to deal with it. And I don't know how I managed it, but yeah, like you said, an army of angels had to have been with me. And so now I'm developed so much resilience now that I just want to turn around and preach to the world. Does that answer your question, Andrea?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol, and thanks for sharing your platform if you have a chance to address the world.
Yeah, I want to be an advocate, and I'm not sure what my role is going to be with these foster kids, because I don't want 24/7 care. I can't do that. I'm too old for that. But I'm going to have influence maybe on the older ones aging out, is what I'm thinking I'm going to be helpful with.
I love it. Anyone else? What would you address the world? I mean, there's so many things, and that's such a hard question, but what comes to mind? What's something that immediately comes to mind that you wish more people had awareness of, more people had patience to, or more people showed kindness on?
One of
Nobody?
the areas that I can,
Russ? Go ahead, Russ.
I was going to say, one of the areas that I could say I have experience with is I moved to Arizona to be a caregiver for mom and dad. You know, dad passed last year and mom's 85 and she's going to be 85 next Friday. So, and one of the things that I've noticed around the community is supporting seniors, caregivers, you know, and having resources available and doing some things that are available to seniors and there's a lot of seniors that don't have family, and I see them on a regular basis that there's not anyone in their family, or there's not any family that and one of the things I used to do with my boys growing up is to take llamas and animals to the retirement community and you know, let people you know,
Aw.
parents pet them and and I see that, you know, living in a retirement community focused community, it's really, there's a huge gap in what is available in resources and making connections with these individuals. And I don't know, if there's an answer or if there's any kind of an answer. I just think there's, you know, the boomers are, you know, we're all in, you know, we're all here till the end. So some of us are going to be around and caring for parents or siblings or, you know, and I'm just thinking there's a lot more visibility that could take place. I don't know, you know, I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know it's a need.
That's beautiful, Russ. You're so right.
Thank you.
There's not enough awareness of that or reminders of that.
Yeah. I'm shocked at the amount of people that live alone around here that have nobody to care for them. And, you know, personal experience with people that have, you know, fallen down and and not had any help. You know, I got friends that one recently broke her shoulder and she's not really have any help available. So,
You
it's
know,
hard.
Russ, for those of us that are a little older, and my husband, we don't have any kids, and we, not that if you have a kid, it would always matter, but
Mhm.
but our families are on the East Coast. We're in Minnesota, or Mark's, my husband's family's in Texas, and we think about this all the time. I mean, we talk about it a lot. Like, there is no one around to take care of us if something happens, and how does that work, and what are we going to do, and how do we plan for that? I think that some of us are a little, um, I don't know whether our parents are getting old enough that we're watching what's going on and we're like, what's going to happen with us? And yeah, I think it's a big issue. I agree with you completely. I don't know how we're going to deal with this.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Hmm.
In fact, just as kind of a sidebar of that whole story is went to dad's memorial last year on his birthday. And I went out on a photography session with my son who had driven up from Texas. We went out, and the day before his memorial, or, you know, celebration of life, I broke my hip. So I missed out on his celebration of life because I was in the hospital getting hip surgery. And then my son drove me back to Arizona, and he had to get back to Texas. So he dropped me off in Arizona. My mom and my sister were still in Utah. And so I was sitting here by myself with a broken hip and I had to get around for a day or two until they got back. And it's like, this really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'm just, everything worked out fine. However, I could see that it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I think in these days, so many of us are in different states and kind of far away from that family, just the opportunities of travel and being away. But you almost yearn then for when you had the families that were always the extended family and everyone kind of around you that were always there to pick up. Because I'm in that same boat, being from California, and my dad passed away in the state of Washington last year, and everyone's kind of in different states, and we're the transplants here in Pennsylvania, and I feel for my kids who don't have the cousins that are around, and that extended aunts and uncles that are always right there, that are always their cheerleaders. It's everything is through a phone call or that distance, and it's
FaceTime.
like FaceTime and Zooms, and it's a different kind of world and support, and I almost wonder too, like that level of relationships again, it's so many things are just kind of that surface, and relationships are just so huge and such a need, and it can get a little bit lonely as you're trying to be strong and support people, but yeah, I think so many. Yeah.
I was going to say, in addition to that, caregivers, I mean, my sister and I care for mom and, here now. However, my sister's been in the hospital for depression, and she's bipolar and suicidal. So, I mean, I've taken her to the ER more of the times than I'd like to count. And so being a caregiver is another area of life that, I think is not underappreciated, but it's
Undervalued.
invisible. It's invisible to a lot of people.
It's a heavy load.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and it's tough when you have that sibling with the mental health. My sister's in New York, and by herself, and you try to be there for her, but her mental health cycle is just aggressive and ugly at times, that she just kind of pushes the rest of the family away. It's so many of the topics from today, just with the trauma and the mental health, and the fostering and the senior citizens and relationships, and just all of that is just so pertinent, and just the inequity and women's rights, and just looking at things that you call attention to, and like even with the women's rights, it's like going through the divorce, and you come across different pieces legally that that you hit, and I'm just like, I can't wait to be done with this, and I can talk to my congressman, and we can make some changes, because there's just so many ugly things and processes here. But even down to like insurance, like once separated, all of a sudden my car insurance and my renter's insurance and went up, because I'm no longer seen as, like a safe investor, because I'm a woman that's single, even though I carried the load when I was married financially, but now all of a sudden I'm more of a risk, apparently, insurance wise. There are just so many goofy things out there that need to be brought to light when we live it. It's like you want to write it down and remember so that you can advocate for change, but sometimes you also just want to just get through it.
That's true. You summed it up really well, Karen.
Really.
I mean, it makes you wonder next time you ask, how was your weekend, right? To someone, makes you think twice because so many topics, so many topics. Melody, you had your hand up. Did you have anything else to add?
Well, I didn't realize I had left it up, but on that note, yeah, if we are in an experience, there's something in it that's a message. So like you said, with the insurance, seeing that there's something in it, that was the only way you were going to be able to see that, was by experiencing it so that you can help create the change. Like when I went through domestic abuse, after it was over, I started a support group for women for domestic abuse. And we had a town meeting on violence. And I brought up the fact that it's a pattern that police will go to the house, break up the fight, and then just they'll take them in, PC them if they're drunk, if they're inebriated, and then let them go once they've sobered up, instead of pressing any charges. So if there's like 10 calls where something like that happens in a household, it won't be on the record because no charges were ever brought. So that was something I wanted the police to see, that if they are experiencing something like that, just letting them go after they sober up wasn't helping anything. It just took them out of the danger for the moment. So we can only see those things if we've actually been a part of them. And that's the only way I was able to see that, because it had been a pattern in my household. So even those bad experiences, there's something in it we learn. And we can help change that. And that did change that there. They didn't look at it that way anymore. They didn't look at it as, oh, he just needs to sober up. Because it wasn't just, oh, he needs to sober up. It was, he had a pattern of abuse that they weren't looking at. They weren't looking at that because they were too busy looking at, he's drunk again. That's all it is. So we can't see those things to help create change until we've actually been in them to experience them. And that's why support groups are created, because usually the creators of the support group, or the ones who run the support groups, have actually been through it themselves, like AA. And that's how our experiences matter. Even the bad ones, they actually matter.
Well said, Melody. Well said. Have you, I don't know about you, any of you, but have you noticed that, at least in my experience, the most empathetic people that I've ever met are most of the times, I don't want to generalize, but most of the time, the ones that have been through the worst experiences. And maybe it's to your point, Melody. Yeah, you can empathize and acknowledge and be there for people that are going through things, but unless you've truly lived it yourself, you don't truly feel that pain.
Right.
That's, yeah. And I guess that's also a part of why we're all here. We don't want others to continue to feel that pain or ever feel that pain. So that's why we're so passionate about helping and giving others a voice.
When we can speak out, when we have that courage or that strength, it is power in the pain, because that's what it does. It helps others.
That's right.
You know, to that point, I remember when my girlfriend's mom died, and I thought I was there, and then my dad died, and I saw how big it was and how deep and complicated the pain was around his death. And I had to go back and I said, I'm so sorry, I really wasn't there for you. I mean, I thought I was there, but I had no concept or clue as to what it was that she was really going through. And then she just laughed and she said, you know what, but now you'll pass it forward because now you know. I'm like, yeah.
Good words. David, I saw you unmuted yourself. Did you want to share anything?
I know, I was just saying this great conversation. What I was going to just say is, you know, we hear a lot of conversations, you know, and I think you do have to have the experience sometimes to kind of and the pain to be the catalyst, you know. What I find with a lot of people is a lot of people, you know, will talk and there's, you know, there's a lot of people in here who are making real change. But I think sometimes when you speak to people and they're talking about an experience and you pose the question to them, you know, well, what are you going to do? And I think that's very important. You know, a lot of people will talk about issues and you'll say, well, what are you going to do? And they'll go, nothing. And I'll be like, well, what's the point in talking about it? You know, real change will only come from real conversations. You know, we can talk all we want about certain things, but if you don't go to policymakers, if you don't create support groups, if you don't do these things never move forward. And I think, and I applaud a lot of the stories I've heard today where there were people who were going out there and making real change and really want to make things happen. And that's infectious. And that's a good thing to kind of want to make things happen and say, you know what? I've been through this. I want to bring this story to light. I want to, you know, make sure that this doesn't happen to other people and providing the platform, providing the light and providing the time for the conversation. Um, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I applaud those of you who are creating the space. You know, where we at now? 16 kindness rallies in.
Yes.
You know, look at the power that you created from that. You know, we appreciate you. I'd like to just let's I'd like to take a moment just to give you my gratitude and appreciate you for what this space you've created. And I'd like to also give my gratitude and my appreciation to everyone who's been here today. You know, I started off kind of thinking, what was I going to expect on the 16th one? And I'm glad I stayed. And I've really enjoyed hearing everybody's insights. I've enjoyed hearing everybody's thoughts and their shares. And and the positivity, that's the one thing I feel has really come out of today is, you know, we've talked about some hard things and some tough subjects. But you know what's resonating throughout all the storytelling and all the conversation is that, yeah, there are things that are going on, but together we are better and we can make change.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate your words. But you're right. You're absolutely right in everything you said, and appreciate your kind words as well. Um, thanks for your continued support, all the rallies. You're awesome. Gosh, I can't believe it's been 2 hours. I was wondering, like, what are we gonna do with no speakers in 2 hours? We have plenty to talk about. We have plenty to talk about. There are so many things, and I completely applaud you. I'm so proud of you, grateful for you, and honored that you showed up today. Maybe you didn't know why you were showing up today. I mean, David said he wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't even sure what to expect, but we're here. And I know I got some additional nuggets. I see some other people saying yes, I think, and from what I've heard, other people got some additional nuggets, and we were meant to get those. You were meant to say what you were supposed to say today. And I hope it's not just this platform, but what you said today, you continue on and share it with others, whether through your personal relationships, your lives, your communities, what you're doing, Susan, you're doing, Ross, Carol, everyone here, Karen, Melody, David. Keep doing it. Keep showing up. And most of all, keep being you and sharing those words. Even though, you know, you may not know where it's going to be heading, or do it because you're meant to do it. Any other closing words from anyone?
Yeah. You know, this kind of piggybacks on what you just said, but I did neurolinguistic training, programming training, and and it's kind of a brief therapy kind of thing, and I thought, oh, I'll try the brief therapy as part of my process and see what it was like. And I said to this guy who I went to see, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. I have no idea who I am and where I fit and what I'm doing, and I need purpose. And he kind of looked at me and smiled, and he said, just look behind you. You're doing it.
Ooh,
It was brilliant.
I like that a lot. Thanks for sharing that.
It fit what you said, right?
Yes, I love it. Anyone else? Closing words, thoughts? What did you think of today? It was different.
Just gratitude for holding space for everyone. And I wasn't sure why I needed to be here. However, I received a lot. So that's all I needed.
Thanks, Russ. That's exactly what we're here to do, all of us.
I agree.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much.
Just thank you. It's great.
Yeah. Thanks, Andre. I wasn't sure either I was going to make it this morning, and I just registered very last minute this morning, and I'm, appreciative of coming and hearing the stories, and just it all resonates, and thank you. So
Thank you.
it was actually kind of nice having this intimate group too, because I know that that's something that sometimes I'll hop on, I'll be a little intimidated, it'll be like, okay, no breakout rooms, I don't want to chat.
Yeah.
But today was really nice because it was just it felt very safe, and and I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone's words and stories, and Russ, I'm thinking about you and your being a suicide dad, and like that's hit me today too, and so just everybody's stories are just really impactful.
Thank you, everyone.
For all
Thank
your
you.
good questions too. You have such good, powerful questions. So.
Oh, thanks, Carol. Thank you, everybody. You've made my day, and we are off for Rally 17 in October. Susan, I don't think you've spoken. If you want to speak, please.
I do. I was going to reach out to you.
Yay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Karen, David, when and if you feel comfortable, or if you recommend anyone, please let me know. Everyone and anyone is welcome to speak. So I will see you guys next time, and thank you so much for joining in today.